As you can see, Ricky Stator came through. They repaired and rewound my stator, and they sent me stickers. Little card in case you guys want to contact them. And now let's see what it looks like rewound. So I asked them to rewind it for 150 watt output. Stock, your Honda does 120, give or take. I've seen a bunch of different numbers on the CRF450L, anywhere from 140 to down to 120. Most agree that it's 120. So what Ricky Stator does, and I don't know how the magic in this works, they either add more wraps or thicker wire or do something, and they get your stator to put out a couple more watts. And remember, real quick, electronics course, if that's what you want to call it, right? We have voltage, we have amperage, and then we have wattage, which is amperage times volts. So 120 watt stator can put out 10 amps of power at a certain RPM. RPM changes all the time, so the higher your RPM, the more wattage you're putting out. What I had found on mine was that I was not putting out quite enough for my Baja Designs headlight, my heated grips, my GPS, charging my phone, blah, 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 etc., etc. So hopefully this is going to fix everything. Alright, so here's the jumper I was telling you about, the XP10. Comes with a battery, whole set of cables, and a bunch of other stuff. It's actually really cool. It'll do more than just jump your bike or your car. It'll power your devices and whatnot. Let's just real quick see what the batteries got in it just sitting there. Yeah, it's about 9.5 volts. I found that anything under 10-ish, 11-ish, and it won't run the bike. Ooh. Alright, I don't know if you can hear me over that engine noise, but you can see the batteries coming up. It was just sucking in all the voltage it was putting out. And we go to the back of the rectifier. Right, here's your rectifier. Here's your three-phase in and your positive and your negative out. And you can see it's 13.1 volts DC, so that's coming out of the rectifier. So there you go, everything seems to be working. It just, the battery was so dead it was pulling all the juice in to charge it. So it'll run it up. Alright, so that's kind of it. The stator's in, everything's running. The battery is charged up to its almost 14 volts. So the only difference I see now is that it's maintaining, I don't know if you can see that or not. That didn't help at all, John. It's maintaining that 13.5 volts on the battery, where before it maintained a 14 volts on the battery. So I believe when they rewound it for a higher wattage or a higher amperage output. And so now we're putting out 150 watts at idle as opposed to 120 watts at idle. So there you go. All right, don't mind this. There's a couple projects I'm putting a left-hand rear brake on this, and I've got some other cleaning up to do for a show I'm taking the bike to. This is not a show bike, right? This is not a show bike. Anyway, so I got a couple other projects. That's why everything's off the bike right now. All right, if you guys have any questions, you know, drop them down in the comments and we'll talk. Not that I know anything about anything, but yeah. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. All right, while we're talking about electronics or electrical stuff, real quick, everybody with an L has this little accessory plug right here. Everyone has this little accessory plug right here. The back side is actually just a dummy plug, but if you can find the right male connector, you can actually use that to power stuff. I got the actual plug from 12 O'Clock Labs. They sell them. I don't know how much they cost. They're pretty cheap. And for me, I wired that up here as a backup power source. So on my bike, everything is wired through this little PDM60, right? And this turns off when the bike is off, so nothing goes directly into the battery. Everything's wired off of that. And then one of the things I have is this little universal plug jobby here, right? And that goes through the PDM, so I can run an air pump, I can run whatever. I can wire whatever I want with that style plug and it'll be okay. The accessory plug actually goes into this, and this has an automotive style plug on it. This is the hot end. This end is just hanging there. All I can, if I needed to, I could take this off, undo all this tape, and then I would have another point to plug something into on my bike that is free of the PDM power source in case that were ever to go out. And I don't know why it would, but now that my electrical system's gone down out in the wild, I'm at least a little paranoid about it. So anyways, so a couple different ways to wire things in. If I all of a sudden threw on a different, you know, somebody handed me a big light and said, here, mount this and power it, and I don't have an easy way to get the power to my bike, I've got these two spots right here. I can just plug it in, 12 volts all day long.